I still remember the sound of the front door closing behind me that rainy evening. It wasn't loud, it was quiet. Final, like the last page of a book you never wanted to finish. My name is Elena, and 6 years ago, my world shattered in the place that was supposed to keep me safe, my childhood home. I was 24, 8 months pregnant with twin girls, and the father had already disappeared the moment I told him. No calls, no support, just silence. I went to my parents with nothing but tears and a small suitcase, hoping they would hold me the way they did when I was little. Instead, my mother looked at my belly with cold eyes and said, "We didn't raise you to bring shame into this house." My father wouldn't even look at me. He simply opened the door and said, "You made your choice. Now, live with it." That night, I stood on the porch in the pouring rain, 2 suitcases at my feet, one hand on my swollen stomach, feeling my babies kick as if they already knew we had been abandoned by the people who were supposed to love us most. I had no money, no job that could support 3 of us, just a broken heart and 2 innocent lives depending on me. I spent the first few months after the twins were born sleeping on a friend's couch, then a cheap basement apartment with mold on the walls and a heater that barely worked. I worked 2 jobs waitressing during the day, cleaning offices at night while my babies stayed with an elderly neighbour who charged me almost everything I earned. There were nights I cried in the bathroom so my daughters wouldn't hear me. Nights when I looked at their tiny faces and wondered how I was going to give them the life they deserved when I could barely feed them. But every time I felt like giving up, I looked into their eyes, those big, trusting eyes, and something inside me refused to break completely. I started taking free online courses at night after they fell asleep. Business, marketing, finance, anything I could learn while the world slept. I built a small website from my phone, selling handmade baby clothes I stitched between feedings, then another for custom nursery prints. Slowly, orders started coming in. Then more. Then a viral post changed everything. Within 3 years, my little side hustle had grown into a full-blown baby lifestyle brand. Stores across the country wanted my products. Investors started calling. I moved us into a small but safe apartment. For the first time, my girls had their own room with warm blankets and toys. But success wasn't just about money. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't the worthless girl my parents threw away. Still, deep down, a part of me wondered if they ever thought about us, if they ever regretted that rainy night. I was about to find out. The first time I saw my mother after that night was at a grocery store 3 years later. I had my twins in the cart, now beautiful 3-year-olds with matching pink jackets. She froze when she recognized me. For a second, I saw something in her eyes, shock, maybe even guilt, but then she turned and walked away without saying a word. That moment hurt more than I expected. Even after everything, a small part of me still wanted my parents to see me, to see what I had become. The business kept growing faster than I could imagine. We launched an app that helped new mums organise their babies' needs. Then came the subscription boxes. Then the partnership with major retailers. By the time the twins turned 5, my company was valued at over $200 million. I was no longer the broken girl on the porch. I was a successful single mother, a CEO, and someone the world started calling an inspiration. But the pain of abandonment never fully left me. I used to lie awake at night thinking about all the milestones my parents had missed, the twins' first steps, their first words, their first day of kindergarten, all the hospital visits when one of them had a fever, all the times I needed advice and had no one to call. The betrayal cut deeper because it came from my own blood. The same people who once told me family was everything had thrown us away the moment it became inconvenient. One day I received a message from my father's number. It was my mother. She had seen an interview I did on a morning show. She wrote, "We saw you on TV. We're proud of what you've built. Maybe we can talk?" I stared at that message for hours. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part, the little girl who still loved her parents, wanted to run back into their arms. But I didn't reply. Instead, I made a decision that would change everything. I had more money than I would ever need. My daughters were healthy and happy. And I realized I wanted to do something that would close this chapter forever. I announced that I would be donating $100 million to single mothers across the country, a foundation that would provide housing, childcare, education, and support exactly what I never received. The news exploded. It was everywhere. Major networks wanted interviews. Social media was flooded with stories from women who felt seen for the first time, and I made sure my parents knew about it. I sent them an invitation to the launch event. No message, just the elegant card with the details. I didn't know if they would come. But on the day of the event, as I stood on stage in a beautiful cream dress, looking out at hundreds of people, I saw them. They were sitting near the back. My mother in a simple blue dress. My father looking smaller than I remembered. They watched me with wide eyes as I stepped up to the microphone. The room grew quiet as I began to speak. 6 years ago, I stood on a porch in the rain, pregnant and alone, after my own parents closed the door on me and my unborn children. Today, I stand here not because I want revenge, but because I want to turn that pain into purpose. I looked directly at them as I said those words. My mother's face went pale. My father looked down at his hands. I continued, my voice steady but full of emotion. This $100 million is for every mother who was ever told she wasn't enough. For every woman who had to choose between feeding her children and paying rent. For every daughter who was abandoned when she needed her family most. The applause was thunderous. But I wasn't done. I stepped away from the podium and walked toward my parents. The cameras followed me. The entire room watched in silence. I stopped in front of them. My mother had tears in her eyes. I didn't do this to hurt you, I said softly, so only they could hear. I did this because you taught me what not to be. You taught me strength. You taught me that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you leave, and you have to become the person who stays. My father's voice cracked as he whispered, Elena, we were wrong. I looked at them for a long moment, the people who once broke my heart. Then I smiled gently. I forgive you. Not for you. For me and for my daughters, who will never know what it feels like to be abandoned by the people who are supposed to protect them. I hugged them. Not because everything was magically fixed, but because I was no longer carrying the weight of their betrayal. That night, as I tucked my beautiful girls into bed, they asked me why so many people were taking pictures of me today. I kissed their foreheads and whispered, because Mummy turned pain into something beautiful. My parents have tried to reach out since then. We've had a few careful conversations. There is no perfect relationship now, and maybe there never will be. But there is peace. The greatest revenge wasn't the money, it wasn't the success, it wasn't even watching their faces when they realised how wrong they had been. The greatest revenge was becoming the woman and mother they never believed I could be, and then using that success to lift up other women so they would never have to feel the pain I once felt. If you're watching this and you've been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you, I want you to hear me. Your pain is real. Your anger is valid. But don't let it define the rest of your life. You can rise. You can build. You can turn your deepest wounds into your greatest power. And one day, you might even find the strength to forgive. Not for them, but for the peace of your own heart. Thank you for being here with me today. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, remember the best revenge is becoming someone who can no longer be broken.